And we talked about product market fit. Okay, you can't build a business unless they pay for your thing and they retain. Now, but before product market fit, it's the message market fit. And what that is like, if you don't, let's say you don't even have the product, you only have a promise of value to be delivered on your website. You write a copy and you're painting a picture of something, like teasing the promised land. And now the question, after they read your sales pitch, are they like, I want that? Well, tell me more. Oh, I'm interested. How does it work? If they ask questions like that, you're onto something.
So this week we have a good friend of mine, Peep Laja. He is the founder CEO of Wynter. Wynter, by the way, is badass. We're going to talk about what it does later because I have used it, and it just provided me with an incredible amount of clarity around my messaging in a way that is very hard to get any other way. But Peep is a bootstrapper. He is doing what I think is a great way to build software companies. He's got an agency which he used to fund his software business, and it's an alternative to raising money. And we can talk about all this later. But Peep, thank you very much for coming on. Very excited about today's show. Yeah, man.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I almost think we should have gotten in together in person and do this, but there's so much going on during the summer that like, what are you gonna do? Okay, here's what I want to talk about, and Pape can relate to part of this. So, while I was at Burning Man, Tate and Rob did not go to Burning Man. They're the other two RB2B employees, but they didn't come into the office, and I have an AI clone. If you go to rb2b.com. I have an AI clone that is on the website that does all the inbound sales, and we don't have a salesperson because it's like a straightforward PLG product, $200 a month average subscription price or whatever. If you want to see our SaaS metrics and the what's going on there, there's that. But AI clone, which is Delphi.ai, handles all the sales inquiry, and then after the sign up, Intercom Fin handles all of the support inquiry. And while we were gone, so we had gotten Intercom Fin up to like 70% of chats initiated, it successfully resolves. So what Rob did, we got 258 chat requests, 59 were escalated. He basically responded to the escalation by saying, we're all out of the office for the week. If you actually want your problem solved, just like try to use the AI to solve it. So half of those responses got resolved just by us pushing the user to use the AI and solve their own problem. So 85% of all initiated chat requests last week were successfully resolved by Intercom. That's fucking wild. And another half of them were things that if we just built some very basic APIs for Fin to go use, like extend my trial, or can you refund me because I canceled my account and you just billed me, like stuff like that. Like that would knock out another half of the tickets, which would be in the 90s, which is wild. And on the sales side, I just went through it. There were 176 tickets in the last 9 days. 6 of them were just blatantly incorrect. 3 of them were about white labeling RB2B, which we don't do. And the AI got excited and said we did. And then really like the only thing that the rest of it didn't really bother me. The only thing that really bothered me is when someone says that they have over like 5,000, any high volume pricing request where somebody specifically names a website traffic volume, it overquotes people, which is fucking annoying because you really want to do the opposite of that. And like, I don't know how to make Delphi. I need to talk to them. I don't know how to make Delphi underquote. Does that make sense? So there were 4 of those. So 6 it got wrong. There were 4 of those. And then 10 people or 11 people wanted to speak to a human, but we don't do that anyway. So there's like, this is like, no matter what, people ask for a human and we're like, okay, can you just write us the questions that you have? And if we can't resolve them over email, then we'll like get on the phone with you. And that's how we've been handling that. I'm sure any salespeople on the line would be like, you're an idiot, you're costing yourself conversions or whatever. But all in all, and by the way, I did this LinkedIn post while I was gone. I had to go up on Monday, and it was like, we're letting AI run our business for 7 days. Do you think it's going to be a success, a total failure, or Adam, you're an idiot and you're going to get what you deserve? And 45% of the people thought it was going to be a failure between
45.
those last two. And it was like, it was great. So anyway, if you want to know the extent of what we did to prepare for that, I made a 6-part newsletter or a drip series with a bunch of video that like Pete helped broker for us between me and Rob. You can sign up there. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them in. Yeah. And I know, Pape, you use Intercom, you have been for years. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, at CXL, my e-learning business, when Finn first came out, which I think was about 3 years or so ago, and we had CS reps in every time zone, so a team of 5.
Yeah.
And we checked like what are they asking the CS reps, and 80% of questions were, how do I reset my password? How do I,
Yeah.
standard questions. And we learned that Finn can solve 90% of those inquiries. So we laid off 4 CS people, and if you're a bootstrapper, that's a significant saving. And we kept 1 person because AI can't solve everything. So it
Yeah.
works great.
Yeah. It's incredible. Anybody else use Intercom Fin in the audience or any other AI chat support solutions? Speaking to you, audience, anybody out there, does anybody do any of this stuff besides me and Pape?
The
Is
other
that a
beautiful
no?
thing about this is like as those algorithms, like Fin is built is they don't have their own model, right? They're probably built on top of OpenAI, and so like as those models get better, all of a sudden Fin gets better. Intercom adds new features. I mean, Fin now compared to shoot a year and a half ago is just this wildly more powerful thing. So, and Luke's evaluating both. Uh, manages uses easel AI voice for customer service. Oh, we don't have any voice, huh? We just do chat. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we just do chat. And by the way, the spoiler alert on that email drip series is like, the better your docs are, the better any tool is going to be at solving people's problems. So it's really about having a culture of great documentation, responding to new questions with a new document rather than just answering the question, and constantly building and refining this library that first support and then sales can run through and basically give, the perfect answer for in a conversational way. If you want to save yourself 6 days of emails, that's the summary.
And he says, praise be for documentation. I agree with that. It's also funny how much more we're documenting stuff now that just so robots can read it instead of our people before, but I digress. That's just interesting.
And now is the time to drop your affiliate link in the chat.
Speaking of
Exactly.
AI, we're going to get into the pitch slap segment. So audience, this is our audience engagement section. We are going to have our buddy Alexander from skip.ai. He's going to come up and pitch Skip. What I'm going to do also is drop in an email address. If you, audience, if someone in the audience would like to pitch your business or have someone from your business pitch on the show, send an email over to me, producer@rb2b.com. And I will say if I think it is a fit for the audience here, I will I'll call you up and you can come on and pitch it up next week or on a future week. So without further ado, let me hop in. I'm going to promote our friend Alex here, and we're going to get into the pitch.
By the way, Charles Saunders built his own thing. That's pretty sweet.
Really?
Yeah. Own docs, API, own LLM.
We got to get him on the show. Charles?
Yeah, exactly. We got to get you on the show,
crazy.
Charles.
That is wild.
Yeah.
And Alex, how you doing, my friend?
Good, thanks. How are you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Of
What's
course.
up,
Thanks
Alex?
for joining.
What's up, Adam? Good to
How
catch
you
up.
doing, man?
All right. So, Alex, the rules of the pitch slap here. We're going to give you 2 minutes to pitch Skip. I just dropped it into the chat here, so everybody can go to the URL, check it out. I will also do a quick screen share. So what did I just do? I'll do a quick screen share as well. That way I can kind of guide people through your site as you're pitching it so they can kind of have a little visual element as well. So we'll give you 2 minutes, about a minute into the pitch. What I'm going to do, Alex, I'm going to put a poll on the screen. It's going to say, would you buy, would you not buy? If it's over 66%, we'll send you some swag. If it's under that, send you with a wave goodbye. But the purpose of this is to book you demos. Okay. So we're going to have people call out demo. We're going to drop your calendar link in there. The record is 38. It was about 3 weeks ago. Someone hit 38 demos. So, I mean, look, even if you don't break the record and you come up short, that's still a lot of freaking demos. I think that record might stand for a while. So,
It's not bad. Do you have my calendar link and everything you need for that?
I'm gonna ask you to drop it into the chat right now. That would be great. And I'm gonna share my screen, and then we're gonna see what is up with Skip.
Awesome.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Cool. Yeah, well, let's go. So I'm a founder. We bootstrapped. I've had multiple companies, multiple exits, advised a lot of founders. And what I found was that people at some point in your journey, you need to send cold outreach. Like it's just unavoidable, whether you're reaching out to investors or customers, or even people that signed up for your wait list and didn't actually get around to creating an account. And so we built Skip to leverage AI to do that. So we help people build micro campaigns. So what that is not spamming the internet like the AI SDRs that you've heard about. This is about running a targeted campaign to 100 or 500 people. Say you're going to HubSpot inbound this week. You want to reach out to a couple hundred people that maybe tried your app, never used it, or maybe you connected with on LinkedIn, but never followed up with. It's a great opportunity to get a lot of engagement. And so what we do is we do that at scale. So you can send 3 follow-ups to those 100 people and write 0 emails. Every email is handwritten by AI using, the leading strategies to get responses and get people to take action. So, it's a super scalable, easy way for founders to do outbound.
Is this best for founders who have not done outbound yet?
So what we find is about half of our customers show up completely clueless. Like I have no idea what a secondary domain is. I have no idea what a DNS setting for email is. I've never heard the word DMARC before. And so we get them going. They usually start on a higher plan. There are other people that are savage, right? That like know everything backwards and forwards, have done everything, vibe coded the daylights out of stuff. And those people are great. And they usually start on our $100 plan because they just want to see, like, does this write good emails? Do they get opened? So it's very barbell. You're either like ninja and you've vibe coded a scraper and already have everybody's email for inbound, or you're like, hey, email sounds cool. What button do I push to do this? And that's, like Adam was saying at the outset, that's more of an agency model. But it's great. Like you get, it's about half the cost of what an agency would typically be. And you get, you get email done for you.
Do you do the list also?
So we do. That's actually, it's kind of one of our sort of sticking points. Like on the agency side, we'll charge you extra and we'll have a human use some AI to build lists. But our view is like the savage founders out there can get lists, whether it's Apollo or RB2B is a great source, right? Like, or vibe coding something to scrape. So our view is like most of our customers are technical founders. And so one guy that we work with, he went in, he sells Reddit services. He went in and scraped everybody that had run an ad on Reddit with like the title of the post. And our AI lets you kind of merge that into a natural sounding email. Like, hey, Adam, saw that you promoted this post about, de-anonymizing your traffic and it was awesome. Do you want some organic Reddit traffic? And so anyway, so we can, but we prefer it if you, our customer, put some thought into your list. And what we found is there are a lot of people that have done that. They just don't know how to send 500 emails at once.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, folks, if you would like a demo with Alex and the team at Skip, drop demo into the chat. Alex is going to put his Calendly link in here. So you can book, but we love to see kind of roughly how many people. I mean, we have 22 people who said they would buy. So, I mean, okay, we got 5, 6, starting to come in. Would this
Yeah,
replace a
let's get to
full-time
38
BDR?
here.
Giovanna
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, so we're bootstrapped. We started in April. We got to 10K in MRR last month, which my wife is like, just 100 grand. Like, come on, like this is really a full-time thing. I was like, no, if we do that every month, actually, it adds up. It adds up, right? She's like, I don't know. Like that seems like maybe you should go work for Anthropic or something. I heard they raise money today. But I think like one of the things about it is that it really like, you know, Pete was talking about before, getting rid of that SDR, right? But not replacing it with just AI garbage, like doing the job, but doing it in 15 minutes a week. That's what we stand for. It's like you don't have to train a person to do a shitty job. You can have an AI do a pretty damn good job in 15 minutes a week.
Sounds pretty good to me. We got you 13 demos so far. 14.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for coming up and pitching. Thanks for emailing. Again, audience. Oh man, they're still coming through.
16. Yeah, people are deciding that they want the value.
They need to send emails.
They're trying to prove your wife wrong is what they're trying to do. I think
I know. I'm totally sending her a recording this and being like, see, yeah, well, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate the shot this morning, Pete. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for coming up. Thanks for coming up.
Community.
And we'll see you soon. And folks, and by folks, I mean audience, if you want to pitch next week or in future weeks, I just dropped the email producer@rb2b.com. We do this every week. All right. I feel like Pape's just been sitting there. So Pape, I saw this, I saw this great post from you a couple weeks ago that I sent over to Adam because I knew we were having you on. And I just it really resonates with me. You wrote this whole post about basically why solving big, obvious problems is terrible advice for most founders, especially ones that were, who were bootstrapped.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate? Why do you believe that is the case?
The bigger the market, the more money there is to be made. And so more founders start businesses, and in that domain, more VCs will fund businesses because everybody wants to make money. And let's say, oh, well, every B2B company needs a CRM. So you also go and build a CRM. And let's say you reach feature parity with HubSpot, all right? Like you have every feature that HubSpot has, and you have 5 more. Will you win? Absolutely not.
No.
Nobody gives a shit, right? And if we look at the CRM market, who are the latest commerce that are growing? Atio is one example. How much have they raised? North of $100 million. So if you're a bootstrapper trying to make it you won't win. And also there's ample evidence that once a market category like CRM or whatever becomes mature, the top players rarely change. The stability of market positions is astonishing. Whoever was the category leader 10 years ago is most likely today. So yeah, I mean, the shifts only happen when there's a technological disruption or, sub category creation, things like this. So as a bootstrap startup, when you're answering the question, how will we win or why will we win? Now, you go for a smaller market. And that doesn't mean, of course, that you build for a non-existing market. You still need a market big enough so you can make at least 10 million a year or more, right? And there's a question, well, won't there be still big, huge companies competing with me in that smaller market where I can win? Probably not, because let's say if you're a 100 million a year company and you have raised VC money, what are the VC expectations? They want at least 50% year-over-year growth, right? So they need to find another $50 million somewhere to grow 50%. And your little niche ain't it. I mean, sometimes it might be if that little niche shows hell of a demand. Adam might know something about Zoom info entering a person level identity market. So it can happen, but mostly they're going to ignore you and ignore your space. And you can just nibble away at a small subset of a big category, and they won't fight you. The big companies won't fight you, at least not that much.
Yeah,
So
so many things that you just said resonate. So like, um, number one, I have heard and I agree with, when there's an entrenched incumbent that's been around in a mature market, you need to be either 10 times better or 10 times cheaper to get people to switch.
Mm-hmm.
5 additional features, you'll get laughed off, whatever. Um, there's, I think there's so many great examples of this in the email marketing space because it's been around for so long. So like
Mm-hmm.
this company, Constant Contact, they didn't really have that good of a product, but they had 100 million in revenue when MailChimp had 2. MailChimp was ultimately over 20 years able to overtake them because they made their product free for 90% of the market, right? So like that, it's like all of a sudden you had to pay $49 to Constant Contact. You had this thing for free that people didn't even know could be free, and that was like a play, right? That's what you got to do to take down an incumbent. You need to like make. And by the way,
Absolutely,
I
like
think that's what
Figma and
HubSpot.
Adobe, and yeah.
HubSpot did that initially in the CRM
Mm-hmm.
market. It's not free anymore, but like their original play was like, CRM is free. We're gonna charge for like the bolt-ons, like and then of course, once they got a huge brand, it became not that. Um, yeah, I love that. And then I also like, I mean, I just say it all the time. Like, there are so many software businesses that could be incredible 10 to 15 million ARR businesses that, if they were run the right way, would make millions of dollars every year for their founders. But they don't, because they enter this. To me, it's like a VC might fund an idea before it starts, and then it like gets a little traction or fails to get traction, and then they're stuck in this world of like burning money and trying to create a huge company, when if they had done it a different way, they could like build differently and have this amazing, for lack of a better word, I hate this word, lifestyle business, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I think the VC economy just ruins a lot of these businesses that could be incredible. Like, I'm experimenting with our B2B right now. It's like, well, can we get it to 12 million ARR with 3 people? If it got stuck at 12 million ARR with 3 people, that would be one of the best businesses that's ever been created in the world, I think, in my opinion, right? Whereas like the whole VC economy laughs at that. They're like, oh, cute. Like, oh, you and your
Mm-hmm.
little $12 million, like, go have fun. Like,
Absolutely. I
whatever.
think we should value businesses based on founder outcomes, not the company outcomes,
Right.
right? So if the founder every round you give away 15-20%, and you dilute it down to 1-2%, very common story, right, for successful companies. And then you make the same amount in the end, compared to staying bootstrapped and selling at 10 million for 50 million or something.
Yeah, totally.
and to
And
make
in like, I have this conversation with, you and I are approximately the same age.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like whenever I talk to younger founders in their 20s, they, like Max was on 2 weeks ago from Warmly, and he's like, I didn't even know what bootstrapping was. I went to YC. You show up, you get lectured about how you can be the next Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. And there's only one way to do it. And he's like, but I still think I would have done it that way, because at the time, it was 7 or 8 years ago. He's like, I'm so young that I wanted to take more risk or something like that. Right. And he's like, and the downside for me was not that material. My response was, the downside to you was not being in the position that I'm in right now. I also, I started my company 2 years before you did, right? And like, I oriented towards profitability the entire time. And, now my life is in this unbelievable position. Not to say that that guaranteed would have happened, but
Mm-hmm.
like, that is a legitimate opportunity cost. It's not just like, take VC money or like stay in your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. And also, I mean, how many companies, let's say you take VC money, and of course there are exceptions, and some guys really made it, and that's fine. But on average, how many will even succeed to get to $1 billion valuation? Very, very few. How many, in comparison, can get to a 10 million a year business? A lot of a lot more, like a thousand
Yes.
times more.
Yeah.
So you increase your odds of generational wealth.
Right. Yeah. And this is just one of my favorite topics in the world, by the way, as you can tell. So I think probably to get the same founder outcome of 10 million ARR run profitably, you probably need to get to 9 figures with VC. Probably. I mean, you start doing rounds. If you're going to take, I don't know, 10 or 20 million off over the course of 5 to 7 years, maybe a little more than that. Like you need to raise rounds that raise your exit up higher and higher. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think there are some exceptions in like very strategic spaces, like what's going on in AI right now is totally insane. But like, you know, eventually that will pass when like trillion-dollar companies no longer feel like they're behind or whatever. But
Yeah,
to
and also
reiterate
let's
your
add here the fact that on your way to getting to 10 million, it's not like you're like ramen noodles and then
right,
10 million, right? Like CXL, my company, it's about between 4 and 5 million a year. It's doing 1.5 million in profits a year. Like, and
yeah,
this is, and then the salaries and other stuff on top. So like you can eat more than ramen. So
right.
you can have a very nice lifestyle on your way to a valuation where you can sell it for a nice chunk of money if you want to.
Totally. And another thing, it's like whether you use investor money or not, you need to, in my opinion, is you need to get to you need to get product market fit to be successful at all, right? Like, and you need to get there using as few resources as humanly possible, no matter what.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's like the vehicle to success on either route is the same. If you manage to bootstrap it and like eat ramen until you get to this point, you just start enjoying the financial benefits of it like so much sooner. You know what I mean? Retention.com was called Get Emails originally. And we had 6 people the day we launched. We had 6 people at 12 million ARR 3 years later. So that's wild. But I was just like, I'm restraining, my urge to like hire people to a ridiculous point. We actually ended up on the way to 10 million, which took 2.5 years. We ended up distributing to our founders $5 million getting there. Which is amazing, right? Like, it's like, how much did you burn getting to 10 million ARR? It's like, well, we actually like paid ourselves $5 million, which is awesome. Anyway, the summary of all of this is the probability weighted outcome of bootstrapping is much higher than VC. And I just love that emphasis on, it's like, man, yeah, it's like there needs to be a website or something that like celebrates the founder outcome versus like what you see in the press and what the founders actually got from it,
Totally. The bootstrap version of TechCrunch.
There should be like a new segment on here. It could be like a new like we'll like give them a plaque like YouTube does. And like I saw Instantly started doing that too. We can give them plaques their outcomes. I mean, they're probably just happy with the money that they made, but I think it's interesting too. Like people they'll look at the big obvious problems and say, well, that's an easy way to find product market fit. Is just go where somebody else already has it. But that does not guarantee you product market fit because now you're entering a market that's different than the market they entered. And now you have to compete with them. So in this world where, okay, now we're not solving big obvious problems, solving small non-obvious problems. Pape, how does someone go about finding a non-obvious problem? I mean, by nature, it's not there in front of you. And there was a couple questions in the chat too. So do you have any recommendations or, ways to find and evaluate a good non-obvious niche?
Yeah, I mean, this is like how to start a business advice, and then you can find it in all these books. It's like if you've been in an industry for a long ass time, you have insights. You know how the inefficiencies or something. You have experience-based insight, and it cannot be taught. You have to experience it and have an insight. Or how I came up with the idea for Wynter. is basically classically solving my own problem. I was like, hey, like I was writing sales copy for CXL, and I was like, I wonder if my ideal customer reads this, the sales copy that I just wrote. Are they like, oh my God, wow, give me my, take my money? Or are they like, "Pfft, like whatever, don't care? Which is it? And so I was like, surely there's a tool out there that can tell me. And the only thing I found was people with the same exact problem. And then I started interviewing these people and like, okay, what kind of companies have this problem and who would pay money, and form some hypotheses and launch an MVP and learn that my hypotheses were wrong. And there, you still got to do all that customer development process. There's no substitution to testing and going to the market and talking to people. So I would say those are the two best ways. I mean, or if you're 18 and have no life experience and no problems of your own, I mean, maybe your friends or your parents have problems.
I think Adam had also had a different epiphany when the retention world came about with the website identification, because it wasn't, hey, I have this problem. It was, hey, I heard this is possible. And, a big thing when it comes to picking a market is picking something that people will actually care about. Not just that it's a problem, because we all have small problems that we don't really care all that much to solve. It's just like a natural part of
Absolutely.
life. You need something you actually legitimately care about. And there's like a little bit of intuition, gut feeling of like, wait,
Hmm.
if I can identify people's website traffic, like, yeah, who's not going to want, like, that is a, I don't want to say big obvious problem, but it's an obvious pain point that people would have, or an obvious solution they would want, I should say, rather.
Yeah, let's say when I studied Wynter, and this is like getting your target customers give you feedback on your website copy. That was the initial MVP. Now we do more things, but I believed in this idea. But it took us, I want to say, about 2 years of running experience, tinkering, mild pivots to let's go after this market, now this market. It took us about 2 years until we broke even. Now, this took money, of course, because building software ain't free. You need people, and so like Adam already mentioned that I have an agency, and also I built this e-learning business. I used their profits. I was my own VC to fund this because I believed this. Like I don't have all the puzzle pieces, but I believe I can figure it out. This can be great, and then now we're profitable, growing, and all that stuff.
Did either of you feel that your ideas were in the world that would become a big obvious problem that VCs would want to scoop up? Because of course they have velocity, money, all of those things. Did
Hmm.
either of you ever feel that, or do you feel that now, even though you didn't in the beginning, that your problem has become a big obvious problem and now your competition is completely different?
Well,
You go first, and I'll go.
in our case, we started with message testing as a use case, and now we do more things, including like brand tracking and things like that, market research stuff, and there are huge market research companies out there. Ipsos and Qualtrics is kind of playing there, and so there's overlap in offerings with large giants. And then sometimes in sales calls, it's like, I'm like, hey, who else are you considering for this? And I'm learning about these companies actually that I have never heard of. And I Google them. Oh, wow, it's like a 500 million a year company. So if you're stop being a monofunctional product and you do more things, you have more use cases, then I think it's inevitable that in some cases you overlap. And that's fine because you need to have your spear, your flagship product, your wedge into the market, and then you can upsell them, other things. And I wouldn't worry too much that, oh well, HubSpot also has this feature, So unless you got to have just your something unique, a core thing, and some overlap is fine.
And so my I'm just trying to, so like the like my product with retention.com, it started to get emails. It was like this gray area compliance thing that like people 6 years ago when we started the company, like they didn't even understand how it could be legal to email someone who didn't opt into a list. Like that was generally how the direct to consumer e-commerce market felt about it. And we built it super cheap because it was hardly even like a product. It was just a pixel and like something that sort of sent profiles to other platforms. And B, um, I just there were just a lot of things that made it unattractive from a VC standpoint. It's like, if you don't have to take that type of compliance risk, why would you? It limited us to servicing only US traffic, so it wasn't global. So it's like kind of a cap of the market. And then uh enterprise companies wouldn't buy it. So like there were just a bunch of reasons why it wasn't a good candidate for VC. And then, with the B2B thing, it kind of started the same way. Now a bunch of venture-backed companies do it in addition to a bunch of other things that make their products heavy and complex and like worthy of a VC sort of like pursuit. I would hate to be running those companies with VC back, because like I just don't think the product category is a great VC product category. A bunch of companies are VC backed that now do it. Our strategy is to try to be the fastest, simplest, lowest cost path to the B2B website visitor. That I don't think, like, I could probably go give VC money because like I have a large LinkedIn presence and like I just have like a reputation, I think now, a personal brand, but like I wouldn't want to do it because like with the direction I want to go, it's always going to be relatively high churn trying to sell this product to small customers at this price point. And that is a recipe for a company that tops out. Like I said before, if we get this thing to like 12 or 15 million ARR, that to me is going to be considered, I'm going to consider that an intergalactic success. I'm going to be screaming from the rafters about how more people should be doing this, because like my life is amazing because of this, right? Like that's the end result. Unify is a company that does identity, and they also have a bunch of other stuff. They have 5 million ARR, which we also have, and they just raised $40 million at a $250 million valuation. If those guys top out at 15, that's going to be considered one of the largest failures. and so it's like, and by the way, it's probably going to be equally as easy for us to get to 15 as them. You
And
know what I mean? I mean, maybe maybe the project's a little stickier. Maybe they're doing a little bit bigger deals, but like, I don't know, like we're about to completely reinvent our product. I think we're going to get a much higher conversion from free to paid if our average subscription price doesn't go up any. And yeah, it's like, it is just, I couldn't even, like it just seems so attainable to go from 6 million to 12 million ARR. Thinking about what Unify does, it seems almost impossible to me for them to go from 5 million to 100 million ARR.
Well, they are hopping on mainly on the AI agent SDR bandwagon, like everybody
dude.
else, which of course is that somebody is going to win, and whoever becomes the biggest will make a ton of money.
Yeah.
But like the competition is intense.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between them and other products? It's very unclear because it's so immature.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that to me represents the entire conversation that we're having. It's like, it seems like an unambitious business model to just be like, I want to be, I'm going to accept high churn, I'm going to accept the low subscription price, but I want to be known as the quickest, fastest, easiest, cheapest path to a B2B website visitor. Still having the product be really good and working, which we're working on, versus like, we basically need to have like a HubSpot level feature rich product to do all of that and do all of this other shit. And we need to be able to sell 100K deals annually, with, I don't know, 15 competitors. I don't know.
I also think it's interesting, like the this idea of like topping out. Like you don't get that opportunity. Like as soon as you top out in that other world, if you're venture backed, shoot, if you're a public company and if you miss your growth trajectory and you only grow 2% quarter over quarter, even though you grew I mean, if Meta does that, they'll lose like 100 billion in market cap overnight, right? It's just like, because the anticipation is for them to keep growing. And like
Yeah.
in this world of bootstrap, you actually get the luxury of like not having to constantly chase growth to appease other people. And that's really what it is.
Well, look, my understanding of VC, which is getting better and better by the year, is for the founder, if you ever have a flat growth year, you're toast, right? Like the value of your stake in that business because of where you did your last round is zero. You may be lucky enough to have your investors re-top you up, right? But it's just a really hard equation to get unstuck with that much pressure in what's going on. And like the outcome that really needs to happen for like the financial outcome to be good for you again. The investors will get their money back more than likely because they have a preferred, but like you get smashed if you are flat. Whereas
Well,
like,
most companies don't do preferred stock anymore, I think today, like maybe 10 years ago it was standard. But to your point, if you're flat, you can't raise another round, and then you got to do layoffs to, not burn yourself to death,
yeah,
and that's going to hurt. And then, of course, you're never going to be that billion plus valuation. And so if you raise 40 million and your revenue is 15, well, then everybody's fucked. Like VCs are
yeah,
never going to get their money back either. And you're personally the founder. You're not going to make shit. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Here's another thing that I love talking about. If you've gotten a SaaS to over 20 million ARR, you've created one of the most successful SaaS ever. Like
Hmm.
by the no, I mean you were in the top like 1% of SaaS entrepreneurs, right? And for that to be considered a failure, if you got stuck at 20 or 25, for 100% of the VC-backed SaaS companies, that's crazy to me. That's like those are these opposing ideas that it's just insane. Like how could a top 1% outcome be considered a total failure for
Hmm.
90% of the ecosystem building this stuff, right? Like it's fucking wild.
Absolutely. I think Rishabh is asking, so what's the point of VC and what's the benefit? I think if you're going to truly change the world, like change how something works, you need a lot of money.
Yeah,
Whether it's treating cancer or in Uber, like business models
yeah,
that need in huge amount of capital. And you're proud that you built the next world changing company. Sure, that is the way to go. You're not going to bootstrap yourself to that. But if you're interested in money and relative success and status and enjoying your work and less stress, yeah, then
yeah,
bootstrap.
Which seems like the thing that would drive most people. But then, when you really get into people's desires, it's like this desire to be somewhat famous, this desire to be, a hero in the eyes of society. I
Well,
mean,
was
shoots.
who said that? Hey, like, ask yourself a question like, do you want to be rich or famous, and like, see if getting rich wouldn't already solve 90% of those problems. Bill
yeah,
Murray maybe or somebody else.
yeah. That was it. That was it.
I
Yeah,
want to dive into Wynter a bit. Oh yeah,
yeah.
what's up?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've used Wynter in the past before I ever met you. Well, which I guess we met today, so that's not saying all that much. But you've known Adam for a while. It's really great. So we are big proponents here on Unfuck My Startup of customer discovery and really understanding your audience, their pain points, and we're also huge fans and believers that you are almost only as great as your ability to articulate your solution out to the market and articulate their
Mm.
pain points back to them. There are a lot of great products that tell really bad stories and don't get off the ground. And occasionally, sometimes we see bad products that tell great stories and then they also don't get off the ground because they can't back up their stuff. But my point is, so you are helping basically founders get qualitative insight on demand. Less than 48 hours, you have responses back from your ICP. I mean, it's a pretty unbelievable thing. What is it about that qualitative sort of insight that's so critical for founders? We can pull up numbers on spreadsheets, assess TAM, look at revenue projections, but like it is that qualitative understanding. What is it that makes that different and so valuable to founders?
Yeah, the qualitative really gets to the why. But because the quant stuff is like how much and when and things like that. But like why? And the other great thing about qualitative is that small sample size is enough. And this has been studied, to bits. Like Norman Nielsen, leading UX research institution, they figured out that if you talk to only 5 people about something, you will learn 80%. You will get 80% of the insights there is to get. 10 people will give you already 95% of what there is to learn. So you don't need to like interview 2,000 people or something like that. Like we're not trying to predict election outcomes here. So that is so valuable for bootstrappers, for founders, because you don't have money or time to interview 2,000 people, right? But you probably have time to interview 5, 10, 15 people. So that is the key benefit. And we talked about product market fit. Okay, you can't build a business unless they pay for your thing and they retain. Now, but before product market fit, it's the message market fit. And what that is like if you don't, let's say you don't even have the product, you only have a promise of value to be delivered on your website. You write a copy and you're painting a picture of something, like teasing the promised land. And now the question, after they read your sales pitch, are they like, I want that? Well, tell me more. Oh, I'm interested. How does it work? If they ask questions like that, you're onto something, right? And now you can build it, and now you can go to the next step in validation. But there's no point to write a single line of code, not even maybe a vibe code or anything, until you have reached that if this existed, I would buy it, right? So message market fit, and this is something that you can test with Wynter.
So you can test a
But
few things with Wynter. Oh yeah, Adam, what's up?
Yeah.
well, yeah, all I was gonna say with Wynter was like, I may be correct or incorrect about this, but I've always felt that I was pretty good at writing copy. And we redid our website like 6 months ago. And how good the feedback was for me was incredible, because like basically some of it was like, you're using jargon. And if you would have told me that I was using jargon for my website copy, I would have said, no, I'm not. Like, what are you talking? There's literally, this is like a kindergartner could understand this, but that's not the case. Like, some people don't know what website de-anonymization is. And like a surprising number of people do not know that. So it is amazingly helpful as a tool to like pull you out of this information bubble that you're in, right? Like, yeah, that's all I have to say about it. Like,
Absolutely, because you are
we're
always
at the price you paid times like 10, right? Like it's just so, I don't know how else you would do that, because you're not like,
you are always so close
everybody
to your
we know
own
is kind of in the
product.
same information bubble, you know?
Absolutely. Like you are talking about
Yeah,
de-anonymizing
yeah,
traffic all day long with your peers and on LinkedIn and so on. You've talked about it for so long.
totally.
For you, it seems that everybody in the world already knows about it. Like, and sure enough, you go to your
Yeah,
local AGP and nobody has ever heard of it. And and
yeah,
that is like the moment of truth. You put something out there in front of your target buyers, the people you want to give you money. And now they read it and like, A, do they get it? And B, after getting it, are they interested? What questions do they have? After reading everything, what remains unclear? All these things are very, very important.
I
yeah.
also
And
think with
like, that was another thing that I was so amazed by. Like, I'm not kidding you. Over 50% of the respondents said that the website was unclear. If you would have told me before Wynter that my website was unclear, I would have said, you're out of your mind. Like, I could not write clearer words than this, and like
Mhm.
just being like, it's unclear for this reason. It's unclear for this reason. It's unclear for this reason. It like allowed me to like, it was just fantastic. Like, I just really needed to hear that from somebody that kind of wasn't working for me or something, you know, because I think I just, you know, like tend to be like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, I don't know.
The Wynter
Yeah.
stuff is almost undismissible. Like
Yeah.
you get feedback from 15 people from let's just take the RB2B case. It's probably marketing directors, sales directors, maybe a CRO or two in there. You can't really look at it and honestly tell yourself, well, they just don't get it. It's like
Right.
they really should get it. You just
Right.
didn't do a great job articulating it. I also just on the point of the jargon, Adam, like in B2B too, like when you're making a B2B sale, especially the further up market you go, usually there's going to be more people in that room who are responsible for assessing that decision. Well, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to go to the homepage of your website and they're going to assess what the heck it is. And if you are a CFO and you're trying to evaluate a marketing software, well, it should be in like super layman's terms and not automatically talking about, like email deliverability and all this other stuff. Like it should be painfully simple, the problem you're solving.
And not only clear, I think clear is like take it to the playground. Okay, now you can play because I can actually understand what this is. Second layer is the differentiation, and it's so important. It's a lesson I've learned it again and again with all my businesses. Because if the person reading the copy cannot understand how you are different or better than the category leader or the big company they have heard of, like if in the case of CRM, if it's not clear how you're better with HubSpot, it's much safer to go with HubSpot, right? So you need to call it out, and like braver companies also say specifically how they're different from the category reader that is known. Like the Basecamp guys, when they launched Hey, their email client, they said, like Google reads more of your email than you do, and we are privacy first, just name the giant, because you're trying to get customers to switch from Gmail. So yeah.
One other thing I'll throw out too that I've noticed, like when you, and by you I mean any small early stage founder, or like mid stage, like when you're looking for inspiration and sort of examples of B2B businesses that have really articulated their position well, usually if you go to a Salesforce or a HubSpot, one of these much larger, more advanced and mature companies, they have the burden of having to try to articulate this really big platform and solution versus, we use this example all the time. Archie and Richard got to give us some affiliate points here, but I'm gonna mention Fixer again because I think they do such a great job on positioning. They've updated their website a few times and it still continues to be one of my favorite. It's an email organization tool. Get an hour back every day. Gmail, Outlook. I haven't even scrolled all the way past the hero. I know exactly what they do. I know exactly why they would help. I know why I would want to try it out. And it's a really simple tool. They're not trying to boil the ocean here. And so I just recommend when folks are, let's say they're not quite ready to use Wynter, but they do want to gain inspiration on people who have positioned themselves really well. And to be frank too, Pip,
That's
like
just your
Wynter.com also does a
opinion,
great
man.
job. Huh?
Pete, because like that company was leading with a big benefit statement, and usually benefit statements are a big no because like they don't want the benefit until they get what it is. Like you, so
That's
so
fair.
you have
I
your
take
point of
that.
view, I have my point of view, but really our opinions don't matter at all. The only opinion that matters is that of your ICP.
There it
Like, do
is.
they get it? Does it resonate with them? And so we write, and even if we copy somebody that we like, it might be that your ICP is, they don't jive with that.
I
That's why you
like
need to
that.
test.
That's a great call out. That's a great call out. I think they get the benefit of being able to like so easily understand what it is, but man, that's pretty on point too. Can't dismiss that. So hey, if people wanted to try out Wynter, and let's say someone's having this problem, right? They are struggling to articulate their pain point out to people. How could they get started maybe with Wynter and also without Wynter? Let's say somebody who's early stages. Are there tactics that you recommend using that maybe you use to actually start Wynter before you actually have the product there?
Yeah, I mean, Wynter has a PLG version, like you can just sign up, pay with a credit card, and off to the races you go. It's self-serve, you don't need to talk to anybody. Larger companies go through sales, but yeah, if you're, smaller founder, you can just log in and launch a message test, and that's it. If if you don't have money for that, there's a couple of things you can do, and all of these require time and hassle and muscle. So what you can do is that you somehow find 15 prospects of yours who are not current customers and who are not familiar with your brand, and you get them to give you feedback. And probably the interviewer cannot be you, because then nobody wants to give you negative feedback to face, because people are nice. Like even if it's a survey and they know it's coming from you, you don't want to hurt somebody's feeling. So you gotta probably find a third party that would interview or survey these people to avoid that kind of bias. And then you need to incentivize them, because everybody's fucking busy. And if you don't know them, they're probably gonna ignore your email or LinkedIn message. And it's gonna take you many, many, many days. But like with enough effort and time, you can do this. You basically find your ICP somewhere on the internet, might be on LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups, depending on who you sell to, and just have them give you this feedback. The challenge is that every founder knows that they need to move as fast as they can. Feedback loops, right? You get feedback, you iterate on your product, on your messaging, marketing, everything. So if we are frowning upon this idea that let's build a feature, and then 6 months the developers are building a feature, and now we go to market to learn. Like this was how it was 15 years ago. Hopefully lean startup taught people that that's a stupid way to go. If you do this for your messaging and marketing, that's still a stupid way to go. That if you work on your messaging and gather feedback for 2 months and then tweak, it's way too slow.
Get feedback from people who are not afraid to hurt your feelings. I love that.
That's
Wynter,
the most valuable.
That is it. You'll be shocked at how many people are afraid to hurt your feelings, especially face to face. It's
absolutely.
I mean, look,
Anybody
nice
who's
people.
given if you've given feedback to your employees that you personally care about, and if you need to give negative feedback, you still like, how can I say this so I don't hurt their feelings, and and maybe you don't even say everything. You only share the, it's hard. Giving feedback is hard.
I hear you. Well, hey, this has been an awesome show. I think this is like one of the biggest things that people fail to test with an honest group of subjects. Thank you for your insights. I especially love this idea of like, you don't have to boil the ocean. Get 5 people that don't care about hurting your feelings, right? You'll be way better off. Audience, thank you for joining. Next week, we have Jesse Willette from Lead Magic coming on. He is going to vibe code an entire app from scratch on the show. So what we'll do, we'll have him start coding it before the pitch slap. That way the AI can start processing. We'll get into that, and then we're going to we'll do some debugging at the end. So literally a full on vibe coding session from honestly the master of vibe coding himself, from Jesse Willette. So
isn't he going to make user gems?
Yeah, I think he is going to make.
He's like, I'm going to vibe code user gems in its entirety on the show.
He said we can pick. We can pick. So, folks, if you have an idea,
create another Unify, and try to get to 15 million before them.
Well, it's going to be a great one. Kate, thank you so much, folks. Recording will be live on YouTube and everywhere else you get your podcast by Friday. Everybody, have a fantastic week. We will see you next week.
Pape, thanks for coming, man. This was great. Let's get dinner soon.
Let's do it. Cheers.
And
bye.
There's the YouTube link, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
All right. Take care. See you, Pete.